So we got a couple of hey Jill, got a couple of housekeeping things really quick first. The Teamsy challenge is over. So congratulations to everybody that completed it. I have got two of Eric's autographed books, and we drew earlier today, and both of the winners are on here. So I'm really excited. And Deborah Williams, you need to send me your address because you are one of the winners. And the other one is Teresa Laston. So congratulations to both of you. And it was the ones that participated. And Eric and I went in and drew two names for those books. And there is a meeting that's coming up that he's going to do with us again, and it's in a couple of weeks after XLC. I just told him we couldn't do it before XLC. We got 4th of July and then that, and it's just too much. So we're going to do it when we get back. So congratulations to everyone that completed that challenge. I hope that it created habits. I hope that you saw how when you do the things that you're supposed to do each day, how it connects you with those relationships and helps you build those relationships with people, because it has helped me, because I do them all the time, but I do them different than the way he taught. And I decided for those 14 days to do them his way and just start reaching out saying, hey girl, I was just thinking about you. Your kids are so cute. You look like you're having so much fun on vacation. Congratulations on the graduation. Congratulations on this. I love this. It's just those things where it's not about singular. You take singular out of it and you just really start connecting with people, and it works. So if you don't think it works, he knows what he's talking about. So do it, take, and they've got the training in Teamsy. So go in and teach yourself. I mean, if I can learn at my age things, you guys can too. So just do the things and just see, what it does for you. Take the challenge yourself, do it for 2 weeks and see how it changes the relationships that you have between you and other people. It's amazing. So another thing, the flash sale, you guys, was insane. First time ever that we have been able to do instant rebates off, and we had 72 orders in a 30-minute period after a 30-minute event. That was crazy. And I'm just going to tell you right now, and y'all know I keep it real, if you did not get any signups, you did not do any work, period. No, there is no other way to put that. You did not do the work if you did not have any orders. That's it. Because people were going nuts. They were going nuts. And the orders kept coming in after the event was over when we started doing all those giveaways. So it was crazy. It was fun. It was insane. Thank you, corporate, for that amazing promo, because first time ever that they've done that. And that was amazing. But guess what? It ain't over, y'all. We still got 4 days of it. We got today, tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday. If you are not taking advantage of it, why? Why are you not telling people? Do you know how many people that you have got in chats, follow-up chats, that have not ordered because of the price, and they are just waiting on a sale? They're just waiting on a sale. Tell them, go in and spend some time and put some effort into it. Do better than you did yesterday. And instead of just 1% better than you did yesterday, a lot of you can do 10 or 20 or 30% better than yesterday, because yesterday you didn't do a lot of nothing. You know what I mean? Let's be real. How much did you do yesterday? How much can you improve on tomorrow for today? Put the effort in. You're going to get out of it what you put into it. I promise. And I am living proof of it. I have busted my tail sending out follow-up messages, and the orders are coming in. And you know what I'm seeing more than anything is old customers coming back because this works. And they have probably tried other things since they last tried singular. And guess what worked for them? Not the other stuff. Singular works every time. So go back to those old customers, tell them there's a sale going on. And you know what? You could think outside the box and you could do a little bit something extra, because That's what I've decided to do. And that's what I wanted to. Okay, am I back? Okay, that was the weirdest thing. Can y'all see me? Because okay, there we go.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was so weird. It just, I got a notification from Zoom that said Zoom quit unexpectedly, send report. And I'm like, I was in the middle. I was on a roll, y'all. I was on a roll. Um, what I am doing is, you know how we did at the end of the flash sale, we had all the envelopes on a board, and there was as many people watching the prize giveaway as there was watching the flash sale. It was insane. So I'm going to do that. Anybody that orders over the next few days, we're going to have a prize giveaway. If you order $200 or more, every single person gets a prize. If you order under $200, you're going to be in a drawing. So that's going to incentivize a higher dollar amount, but it's also going to still give anybody who orders anything a chance to earn a prize. The prizes are coming from me. So if you want to participate, we can do it, but you just know your prizes they're gonna come out of your commissions, which that's okay, because I would rather give a little bit back to get a customer and keep them for a long time than just because 0% of zero is what? That's zero. So if you have something that incentivizes those Spencers to get on, think outside the box, do something different, do something you haven't done before, because that's what's going to I do not know what's going on, y'all. This is crazy. Am I back? This is
You're
nuts.
back.
Oh my God, this is crazy. It keeps knocking me out. So I don't know what's going on. I'm not going to touch it because I'm trying to keep scrolling down to see if somebody has jumped on, but I'm hoping that they will just jump in when they do get on. So so think outside the box. Use what you have in order to get what you want, because I've been here for 7 years, and we have had all kinds of promos. They have never had a promo that discounted everything. And that was one of the things that why we were never allowed to say discounts. We were never allowed to say sale. We were never allowed to say flash sale. We were never allowed to say specials, that kind of thing, because, it was, we never put stuff on a discount. And so now we have that right now. We can use verbiage that we've never used before to get people that have been watching for that verbiage. Because, I mean, let's face it, Independence Day sale, I mean, it's in a week. We can use that now. So over the next few days, think outside the box. You can use you've got free membership. That's still available. You've got $35 distributor to be a distributor for an entire year. That's out there. Free shipping over $200. That's out there. And then now 10% off of everything. And go back and look at the Google Doc. Take certain products and say, right now for the next hour, it's this price, and you're going to take another $5 off. Do blitzes. Those work really, really well. Those blitzes, the best energy supplement on the market for the next 30 minutes, this is the price, or the next hour, or the next 3 hours, this is the price. Think outside the box, and just whatever it is that you think will grow your business, put the effort in, try things. And it's plan, do, and then review. So plan it, do it, and then go back and see what didn't work before you do the next thing, and then try something else. That's all it is trial and error. trying to figure out what works and what doesn't work. But there's nothing that you can't accomplish with the time that we have left if you just put in the effort. It's not going to happen for you. It's not going to happen by magic. You got to, what do we say? You got to pick up the shovel. If you want God to move a mountain, he's given you arms, he's given you legs, he's given you a mind, he's given you the ability. So he expects you to pick up a shovel and help him move that mountain, because you can. You've got to put in the effort. And it's so many people come into this, and I've seen a lot over the years, but so many people come into this and they think it's going to be one thing. And then when you first start, do you remember when you first start, how many people they jump in and they are all gung-ho, and they get, their friends and family are just, the people that trust them, they sign up, but then at some point their little hot market runs out, and they really have to work and put in the effort. And that's why the business goes like this. It's an ebb and flow, and when it goes down in here, that's where the strong survive. That's where consistency thrives. When you're in these valleys, that's where this right here can make or break you. Your mindset and the just, you've got to have a vision that is more than 30 minutes long. You've got to have a long-term vision of what you're going to get to, and know that it's not going to happen in a month. It's not going to happen in 3 months. It may not happen in 3 years. It may not happen in 10 years, but the one thing that I can tell you, and y'all all know my business story. I've been at, at this point more than I've been at this point, but it's a gradual, I'm so much further now than I was 5 years ago. I'm so much further now than I was when I was at a point where, everything was sunshine and roses, because when that happened, it went straight back down. But now the consistency and being consistent has made that, just level out, and it's a gradual incline, even though there's valleys. And I needed those. Like, I needed the hard times, because that's what's taught me to be a good leader. That's what's taught me to be able to look somebody in the eye and say, guess what? If I made it through, so can you. That's what taught me to grab somebody's hand and say, come on, honey, we're going to do this together, because I already made the mistakes and you don't have to make them, So I think I saw our special guest jump on, and then I think I saw our special guest jump off. I don't know if anybody, oh, there he is. So I'm telling you, we are one of the luckiest teams in the entire company. And I don't know how we get so fortunate, but one of my favorite people in the entire world, the one that I look up to, the one that I could sit and listen to for 24 hours a day, is gracing us with his presence tonight. And I'm telling you, he can motivate a pen to write without anybody ever holding it, and without anybody even holding it. And I'm hoping that we had a conversation with him a few weeks ago when I was in Gulf Shores, and it was one of the things when he talked to me about it. It's one of the things that I've been talking to you guys about it. So to let go of the things that you can't control, and only hold on to the things that you can, and work on the things that you can. And I just saw him leave again, but hopefully he's going to jump back in just a second. I don't know. Maybe his computer's doing the same exact thing mine is. I don't know what's going on, but it's wonky.
Here.
Oh, he's here. So let me introduce you to a man that needs no introduction, the CEO of Singular and one of my biggest mentors, Russ Fletcher.
Hello, everybody. Excited to be with you tonight. I texted Melissa a little bit earlier, and I said, hey, would it be okay with you if I crashed your meeting tonight? And she said that would be okay. So I hope that's okay with all of you. I'm excited to be here. I'm in my home office, and my computer is being weird, so my name says unlicensed room. So that's who I am tonight. So sorry about that. Let's see, this light is bothering me. Is that okay? Is that too dark? Give me a thumbs up if that's okay. All right, good. So, it's been a bit of a whirlwind 2 weeks for me. Some of you may know that my father passed away 2 weeks ago tomorrow, and he was 101 years old. And so we have spent the last 2 weeks preparing for and having the funeral, but also just sort of celebrating his life. I'm sitting here surrounded by some of his stuff. I'll just show you this. This is a bag that I found in his closet. Let me show you what's in this bag. This may surprise some of you. It may not surprise any of you. But see if you can see this. Can you see that? This is a microchip. This is the prototype of the first microchips ever developed in the world. And he has here a whole bag of them. There's that one. Here's another one. See the microchip in that. My father was a pioneer in science, and he pioneered the invention of microchips. And so he was given all these. Here's another one. And they were nothing to him, so much nothing that he says a bag of them. It's like thrown in a closet somewhere, this bag of the history of the world. This is like the precursor to integrated circuits, which became CPUs, which became computers. So the miniaturization was part of his history. I have a whole bunch of stuff here I could show you, but it's been interesting as I've been reflecting upon his life and his contributions to the world. He was unparalleled. His career was unparalleled in the world of science. He had a career that anyone would love to have. He started his career working on the Manhattan Project during World War II, working on the effects of radiation on microwaves on radiation. Then he went and worked in the lab that invented the transistor. He worked on the invention of the laser. Think about that. My dad helped invent the laser. He has 4 patents associated with the invention of the laser. Then he worked for the Department of Defense and headed the guidance division of the Intercontinental Ballistic Missile Program. And then just for fun, some of you may know what this is, but just for fun, he helped write the computer language C. If you've ever heard of C, the computer language C, my dad did that as the end of his career. He wrote the language C. So this is just a stellar career. And when he and I would talk about my career, when I changed my major from physics to mechanical engineering, he just looked at me and he said, well, I guess you'd rather make money than history. I said, you got me, Dad. I guess you're right. I guess I'd rather make money than history. What can I tell you? But he actually said to me, some of you may know this, but I was honored to represent Singular in 2020 when I was named the Utah Business CEO of the Year. And he and I talked about that. And I was talking about how it's a reflection on a great team and a wonderful group of distributors like all of you. And he smiled and he said, in your own way, you're making history. And I appreciated that because that meant a lot. History meant a lot to him. I wanted to jump on. I'm going to jump on as many teams as I can get on in preparation for XLC. How many of you are able to attend XLC and are planning to go? A couple of you. So you will accept my apology in advance if I tell a story here that I'm going to tell there, because not all of you are getting to go. So I'm going to share this story with you here and then a subset of it at XLC. So I went to MIT, followed in my father's footsteps, hoping to be a scientist like he was, only to discover at MIT that I wasn't as smart as he is. And so I changed my major, as I said, to engineering. And then as an MIT student, you have to write an undergraduate thesis. You have to do original research, and you have to write up your original research in a thesis paper, and you have to get it approved in order to graduate. So your second half of your senior year is consumed with writing a thesis. So I had finished my thesis. I didn't procrastinate. I was done. The day that it was due at 10 o'clock in the morning, it's due at 5 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the morning, I went in to see my thesis advisor, had my final draft ready, and he looked it over, made a few minor edits to my final draft. Now remember, this is pre-PC era, right? So I'm doing all this on a typewriter. So he made a few edits. He said, can you make these edits? Yes. Then he said this. He said, I want you to retake the pictures of the device that you made. Think about this. Pictures. What did you have to do to pictures in the 1980s? To get them developed. Take pictures to the fastest you could get them developed was a place called 1 Hour Photo. So 10 o'clock in the morning, he said, you need to retake these pictures. So I went home. I was not in really hurry because everything was done. I took the pictures. I rode my bicycle up to 1 Hour Photo. While they were being developed, I had lunch. They finished about 1 o'clock. I went back to his office with the paper, with the edits made and the paper, and he looked at this. He said, well, these pictures are still kind of dark. Can you take them again? Yeah. Tore my bike across campus, found my device, took pictures again, rode up to 1 Hour Photo, begged them to do it faster than an hour, stood there waiting, tapping my foot. They finished the delivery, rode to the photocopy places, had my thesis copied on archival paper. Get to his office, it's now 4:15. He's not in his office. In fact, none of the professors are in their office. I'm walking around the whole department. No one is there. I see this one person, it turned out to be the department secretary, way down at the end of the hallway. And I yelled at her and she turned around and I said, where's everybody? She said, they're at the department picnic. Why aren't you at the department picnic? I said, picnic? I'm trying to get my thesis signed. So I dashed on my bike over to the department picnic. I found him at the department. Now it's 4:45. I find him at the department picnic. I said to him, look, here's the paper. And he looks at it and he goes, well, these pictures are still a little dark. I'm like, he says, I don't think I can give you an A. I said, an A? At this point, I'd settled for a D. I just need to pass this so I can graduate. Could you just sign this piece of paper so I can get it and turn it in on time? So he said, sure. I got a B. He signed my thesis. I dash across to the thesis office. It's now 4 minutes before 5 o'clock. I walk into the thesis office, thesis in hand, signed by my thesis advisor, dripping with sweat, shaking. And the thesis secretary says to me, it's okay, take a deep breath. You made it. You're all right. You made it on time. Let me get the paperwork. She starts to get out the paperwork. I have to fill out. Another guy comes in after me. I was not the last one. Another guy comes in after me. She says something to him. Take a deep breath. You made it. You're fine. Hands him his paperwork. We're filling out our receipts and everything. She gets up and walks behind us and locks the door. And I stood there. I looked at him and I'm like, oh, my hand's shaking as I'm filling out the receipt. And while we're standing there, I look out in the hallway and there are 3 or 4 people standing in line out on the hallway. And I couldn't resist. I turned to her and I said, look, just out of curiosity, what's going to happen to them? She said, yeah, they don't graduate. They have to come back next semester and redo a different thesis with a different thesis advisor. I'm shaking at this point. She hands me my receipt. I carried that receipt in my wallet for 5 years. Just in case anybody had on the off chance to want to say, did you graduate? Yes, I did. Here's my thesis receipt. As I walked, she let me out a side door and I walked across the campus and the sun was shining and the birds were singing just a little bit sweeter than normal. And the sky was a beautiful blue. And I remember just sort of waltzing across campus. I had done it. I had finished the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, arguably the hardest engineering and science school in the world. I had graduated. I wasn't the top of my class, but I wasn't the bottom. I was in the middle of my class, and I finished the hardest academic thing I would ever do in my life. I remember thinking some years later, there's nothing that's going to be harder than this. Intellectually or academically, whatever you want to throw at me, nothing is going to be harder than that was. And it's proven to be true. As I faced other things academically or that required me to think things through, that was easily the hardest intellectual or academic exercise that I ever had to go through. Now, why do I tell you that story? As challenges have come up in my life, I've come to this conclusion. Since nothing was going to be as hard as that, I had confidence. The confidence I had was that I had already weathered the hardest storm I could possibly weather with regard to something intellectual. So when problems came up, well, I can handle this. I handled that. I can handle this. I'm already confident enough that I can handle this. So let me ask you this question. As you're looking at your business, your singular business, and maybe some of you are having some difficulties, maybe volumes aren't where you expected them to be at this point, I want you to ask yourself this question. What have you already weathered that should give you the confidence to know you'll get through this? What have you already gone through? Clearly, you've already gone through things in your life. I was talking to somebody the other day and I said, well, is this harder than going through the abusive marriage and divorce that you went through? Well, no, that was way harder. See, you already have the confidence you made it through that. I was talking to another woman who endured cancer for several years. And I said, is this harder than that? No, that was harder. And I said, see, you already have in you the resilience, the strength, the fortitude, the courage to withstand almost anything that this business could throw at you, because you've already been through it. So my first question to you tonight is, what have you already done? If you have a journal, I would encourage you to write it down. Think this through. If you're struggling a little bit with your business, ask yourself that question. What skill, what have I already weathered that was harder than this? Because I can almost guarantee you have something already. That's lesson number one. If we got time for a second lesson, Melissa, is that okay? Okay, second lesson. If you're a Christian and have spent any time with the Bible, you're probably familiar with the story of David and Goliath. The story of David and Goliath is one of my all-time favorite stories. I love that story. And even if you are not a religious person, the story has a lot to teach us. So just a recap of the story, the Philistines were approaching the army of Israel, and they had a giant named Goliath who was more than 2 cubits tall. Now, we don't know exactly how big a cubit is, but just imagine, say, 7 feet or taller. Some say maybe as tall as 9 feet. So this mammoth human being, and he had a helmet and a shield and a sword, and he challenged. He said if the Israelites would send out their best person, he would challenge him one-on-one and winner take all, right? To make a long story short, David becomes the person who volunteers. And Saul, the king, says, well, you don't have any armor, David. Why don't you try my armor on? So he tries on Saul's armor, and David was too small. He's only a teenager. Saul's armor was too big for him. So David goes out onto the battlefield armed only with a slingshot and 3 small stones. And in the end of the story, he hits Goliath in the forehead with a slingshot shot. Goliath falls to the ground. He uses his own sword and cuts off Goliath's head. That's the story. Are you all with me on the facts of the story? Now let's talk about what this means. Imagine, first of all, what would have happened to David if Saul's armor had fit? What if he'd gone back and Saul's armor had fit him perfectly, and he'd gone out on the battlefield dressed like Goliath in the armor that fit him? What do you think would have happened? Can we unmute people and have people weigh in on this? Anybody want to weigh in on that? What do you think would have happened to David?
He would have lost.
Why do you think he would have lost, Melissa?
Well, because his faith, he won because of the faith that he had when he went out with just a sling and a stone.
Okay, so he certainly had a component of faith, and I'll come back to that. But I want to address, first of all, what would have happened if he'd fought in Saul's armor.
It would have weighed him down.
Here's what I believe. Would have weighed him down, right? Don't you think? Here's what I think. I think he would have been fighting Goliath's battle. he would have been fighting the battle on Goliath's terms, using Goliath's tools, trying to fight Goliath's style. He wouldn't have fought David's style. He wouldn't have fought anything that he was used to. Was he used to battling with swords? No, he was a shepherd. He was a shepherd, but the Bible tells us that he had already defeated a lion in protecting his flocks. Do you think a lion was more fierce than Goliath? I think so. Using the same principle, David went out onto that battlefield not armed like Saul and not fighting Goliath's battle. As soon as he went out into the battlefield with a slingshot, he changed the rules. The battle was not Goliath's battle anymore. Now the battle was David's battle. Was Goliath fast? We have no record that Goliath was fast. Was he able to avoid David? We have no evidence that Goliath was able to avoid David. What we do know is Goliath boasted in his strength, and he laughed at David. He says, "This little kid is going to run around. What is he going to hurt me with a rock?" Yes, the battle shifted from Goliath's battle to David's battle. How many times are you fighting on somebody else's terms? How many times are you trying to do your singular business the way somebody else does their singular business? How many times are you trying to tell a story because you heard somebody, Cynthia Evans, Stacy Loftus, Melissa Adams, somebody else tell a story, and you try to tell their story, but it isn't your story. You're fighting or trying to do your singular business using their armor. You have armor. You have things that make you you. You have things that are your story, that are your strengths, that you already know you can do. Don't walk out onto the battlefield trying to fight somebody else's battle. And the third element, so the first one was he didn't fight on Goliath's terms. Second was he changed the game to something that was playing to his strengths, not Goliath's strengths. And then, Melissa, what did you say? Faith. He walked out there in the faith that he was doing the right thing for himself, for his family, for his God. He knew that those things combined, not fighting Goliath's battle, not doing things on his own term, not Goliath's term, and going with faith, he couldn't be defeated. We think of that battle as an epic, little guy against the big guy. But the reality is, as soon as he stepped onto the battlefield with a slingshot, he was the favorite, not Goliath. Goliath didn't know that. In fact, nobody knew that. Nobody knew this was a deadly shot who'd already beat a lion. They just thought, oh, this is just some wimpy kid with a slingshot. He thinks he's going to take down this mighty warrior. Yes, he was. Yes, he was going to take down that mighty warrior. Now, there's one other analogy here I want to draw. Every so often, actually more often than that, regularly, people talk to us about, hey, I'm listening to XYZ person from another company, and they're saying this. How come we can't say that? They're talking about this claim or this income claim or this thing that they're saying. And our company says, we can't say that. Why can't we say that? Well, there's two things I want to point out. One is, why would we want to play their game? Why would we want to play battle on their battlefield? Do you know what one of the most successful phrases in network marketing history is? Lose weight now, ask me how. Do you know whose slogan that is? Herbalife. If you started to use that slogan, because we can help you lose weight, can you imagine if you started going out to people and saying, lose weight now, ask me how, and somebody gets in touch with you? You say, yeah, well, I love that phrase. It's a really good phrase, but I don't sell Herbalife. I sell Singular. Do you know what they would say to you? You're a fraud. Go away. How about this one? Better ingredients, better products, Singular. Not better ingredients, better pizza, Papa John's. No, that's not us. That's their slogan. That's not our slogan. We don't need to play on their battlefield. We have our own things that we can say that are so much better than anything somebody else can say. We can say with boldness, best compensation plan. And if somebody wants to argue with you, say, prove it. Because I can prove to you that ours is the best compensation plan out there. You want to bring me your compensation plan and have an argument? Let's do it. Because I can show you how with the same volume in my plan, you'd make more money. I almost guarantee you, I can't guarantee you, but I can almost guarantee you no one will take you up on that bet. Right? So best compensation plan, best products. You know what? Let's be a little more bold. Do you really think that there are people who compete with our collagen? Do you really think that? Because I don't. I don't think there's another collagen on the market that's as good as this one. Why would we want to play on their battlefield when we have already in our arsenals and they could possibly imagine? So don't be concerned about being a little more brave. We can be brave. There's a general sentiment, I'm afraid, people being afraid that they might get a letter from compliance. How many of you, by show of hands, how many of you have received a letter from compliance? Okay, so I see five hands out of some, I don't know, there's 30 people, not all of them on video. So 5 or 6 hands. Okay, so not everyone. When you got a letter from compliance, what happened to you? Did they suspend your account?
Nope.
Did they send the police to your door to arrest you for violating FTC rules? Did they yell at you and call you mean names and tell you that you were dumb? I can guarantee none of those things happened, right? Here's what happened. Well, Melissa, you came off mute. What happened when you got a letter from compliance?
They showed me what I needed to fix, and then I fixed it.
Were they nice?
Absolutely.
Did they work with you until you understood what the issue was?
Yes.
Here's how compliance at most network marketing companies work. Not ours, but most other companies. Email or letter number 1, suspension. Account is suspended because of XYZ problem. You have 3 days to fix it. Email number 2, termination. You either fixed it or you didn't, and that's it. What do you get from us? An email or often a phone call. Hey, we've got this issue. Let me explain to you what the issue is. Let me help you take this down. So we have this general sense of fear because it feels like we're being called into the principal's office. It isn't the principal's office. It's the guidance counselor's office. And they're not trying to come down on you. They're trying to help you. Our process is a whole lot more difficult than some of these other companies because they don't actually care. They don't care. They're just trying to enforce a policy and make you comply. That's why everybody calls it compliance. We call it compliance too, but I don't want to. I want to change the name. They're fighting me on this because everybody calls it compliance, and they want me to call it the same thing. I want to call it the business integrity department, because all we're trying to do is make sure that we don't run afoul of some rules that are out there in the marketplace. So problem number 1, people are afraid of compliance. I can tell you categorically, do you know how many accounts we've terminated in the last 10 years? It's less than 10. So there's this fear of compliance, but it shouldn't be. It's a little bit scary. I don't want to pretend that it isn't. Get a letter from somebody that says, hey, you did this wrong, take it down. But they're here to work with you. Rena Schultz is about the nicest person on the planet. If you've never met her, she's the head of our compliance team. And we have a team of people whose job it is to make sure that we are able to play on our terms. That's the first thing I want to point out. The second thing I want to point out is you can be more bold than you think. You can be David. You can stand up and say, in the name of my God, I stand here in defiance of you, Goliath, and you will not prevail this day. That's what you can say in your own singular business. Now, I know I don't want to try to equate too much of what we do to the Bible. I don't pretend that we are doing the same work that David was doing. But I want you to recognize the courage that you have in you. We have one other thing that I think is powerful. I mentioned you can say we have the best compensation plan. If you don't think so, prove it. We have great products. I would even argue we have the best products. And you want to challenge how great my products are? I'm ready. Let's have a discussion, because I think our products stand up to anybody's products. But the third thing, which I would stand by, is you. I've spent a lot of time with a lot of interesting people in my life. I've spent time in other network marketing companies, and this is going to sound terribly judgmental, so be it. There were people in those companies that I didn't really like. They were people who weren't particularly full of integrity. They were people who weren't particularly kind. were kind of in it for themselves, kind of in it for, they would steal from each other and they would try to promote their business at the expense of someone else's business. They would badmouth each other. And I would go, why are you here? Do you not understand that this business model is designed to be helpful for everybody involved? You should be building a network of people who rise together, who help each other, who grow together in strength and unity. You shouldn't be tearing each other down. And I would say this to them, and they would look at me like, you're so naive. Well, when I got a chance to try to build the kind of community that I want, I came here. Because this is the kind of community that we have where we support each other, where you have a woman that was in a motorcycle accident, and another woman that they'd met at their Sundance trip, fly across the country to take up running her team. They're not in the same downline. They're in sister lines. Why did she do that? Because they're both part of Zingular. I was traveling with a platinum executive on the road a couple of years ago, and another distributor called in and said, hey, would you be willing to do a three-way call? You're a single mom. I've got a single mom on the phone. Would you be willing to do a three-way call? Not in the same downline. This platinum executive said, of course. They got on the phone and I said, do you even know who that woman is? She said, no, but I met her at convention and I gave her my phone number because she seemed like she needed a friend. And she called her out of the blue, and this woman said, I will do a three-way call for you. That's the kind of community we have here, a community that supports each other and helps each other. And Melissa, you and Stacy and the relationship that you've had over the years is a prime example of that. Are you in the same downline? No. No, you're in sister lines or whatever, cousin lines. I don't even know what to call it, because you're not even as close to sister lines. But you work together because you recognize that when we all help each other, the pools go up. And the pools go up, everybody benefits. Helping each other is at the core of who we are at Zingular. It's what it's part of our Zingular DNA. When I hear people say, well, I've got to do this, my business, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yes, your business is inextricably connected to everybody else's business. You can't tell I'm pretty passionate about this. I'm pretty excited about the fact that we have an amazing group of people. I'm looking over some of the faces here. I've met some of you. I have not met all of you. I look forward to that opportunity to be able to meet all of you. And if we have an opportunity, I'll find a piano and we'll sing together. That would be fun. I hope to see as many of you as can. I know it's last minute, but if you still have the opportunity to come out and join us at XLC, it's going to be a time. It's going to be fun. We have some cool things up our sleeves because we recognize that this is a unique moment in Zingular history, and we want to help all of you lock arms and march together into the future, because at Zingular we play the long game. There are moments in time, volumes are down this month or down over last year. People tend to compare themselves to the best they've ever had and wonder why they're not having the best they ever had right now. Have you looked around? Is anything the best it's ever been right now? Right now we have, well, I guess that's the best if you consider high gas prices the best. That's the highest they've ever been is right now. Right now is our time to shine. This is when we're going to step forward and say, we're going to take this opportunity and go into our own battlefield with our own strengths and change the world. Melissa, that's all I have tonight. I'd be happy to answer any questions if anybody has any.
Will you do me one favor?
Sure.
Do you remember the conversation we had a few weeks ago about the cassette tape that you had with the guy talking
Yes.
about controlling what you can and letting go of what you can't? We've been talking about that a lot since you and I had that conversation, and of course I can't do it as well as you. Would you just give a little overview of that conversation you had with me, because I think it's so important right now.
So years ago, a friend of mine gave me a cassette program that tells you how long ago it was. He gave me a cassette program called The Psychology of Achievement. Psychology of Achievement. And I just found it a couple of weeks ago on Audible. And so I bought it. I remember fondly The Psychology of Achievement. The guy's name is Brian Tracy. And so I started to listen to it, and it really struck a chord with me, because he was talking about, why are some people successful and other people not successful? What's the difference? He defined success and what that means, but then he was talking about a few laws that control success. And excuse me, one of the laws is what he called the law of control. And he says most people need to have some element or some modicum of control in their lives. And when they feel absent any control, the first reaction to losing control in their lives is apathy. They begin to not care because they're like, what does it matter? I don't have any control. And the next level below apathy is depression. Well, not only does it matter what I do, but I don't matter. And then if you take depression to its unnatural conclusion, you end up with suicidal thoughts and really dangerous situations. And so he went back into that first level, the level of I feel a lack of control. And so now I feel apathy. And I was talking to Melissa about this a couple of weeks ago. And I was talking about we've all just gone through a 2-year experiment in the loss of control. We've just spent 2 years being dictated what we could do, where we could go, how we could talk, how we could behave. And it was confusing. Can I wear a mask? Do I have to wear a mask? Can I wear a mask? Can I go to this restaurant or not this restaurant? Can I fly? Do I go to school? Do I go to work? Where do I go? How do I do that? It was a worldwide 2-year experiment in the loss of control. And as we were talking about it, and what struck me listening to Brian Tracy's program is, what do we offer? We offer an ability to begin to take control back in at least some elements of your life. Our 8-day products, for example, our 8-day Jumpstart gives you the ability very quickly, 8 days, begin to take control of your weight. Now, are you going to lose all the weight you ever need to lose in 8 days? Of course not. As one of our distributors put it years ago, I can't do it justice because this is her personality, not mine. But she says, Sugar, you got a whole lot more than 8 days worth of weight to lose. Let's get you on subscription. That's my best impersonation. So you may not be able to lose all the weight, but even if you just lost a few, we say up to 15 pounds. Can you imagine what that does to somebody who's never been able to control their weight in their lives? They lose 15 pounds in the first 8 days. That's an element of control. Take it back. Take a little bit of control of your health. And you can move on from there. You can continue to lose weight until you get yourself to a healthy weight. And you can move on from there. Collagen, probiotics, those are forever products. You can begin to feel your skin feel better. You can feel your digestion getting better. You can begin to take control of your health. How about your finances? What are your finances? How often do we pay at Zynga? We pay every day, but we pay a couple of days in arrears, right? So if you make a sale today, within 2 business days, you're going to get paid on that sale that you made today. Think about that. 72 hours later, you're taking a little bit of control about your finances. And everyone who does those steps, just a little bit, they can't control their whole lives. But the positive reinforcement that comes from taking control over even a little bit of your life just feels great. It's an endorphin rush. It gives you the sense of confidence. I can do this. I just did it. I just lost a few pounds. I just earned a few dollars. I have a little bit of control. Now, are we controlling the world? Not yet. Maybe never, right? You're not ever going to be able to say, well, I have control over gas prices. You don't. You have control how you respond to gas prices. You have a lot more control than you think. And to the extent that you can take control even over some small aspect of your life, your own personal happiness and success will go up. There's another book called Man's Search for Meaning. And it's one of those life-changing books if you've never read it. Man's Search for Meaning was written by a man named Viktor Frankl, who was in the concentration camps in Nazi Germany. He was himself a prisoner, if you will, in the concentration camps. And the guards were doing unspeakable experiments on the various members of the concentration camp. And he was a philosopher, and he began to imagine how awful it must be to be a guard. And he began to have sympathy over the guards. And this gave him a sense of command over himself, because he now was freer than they were. Not physically. Physically, he was trapped in a concentration camp. but his ability to overcome his own perception and to control his own response to even the most horrific circumstance gave him a greater freedom than even the guards. And over a period of time, some of the guards began seeking him out and asking him for counsel on how they could live their lives better. And when he got out of the concentration camp, he wrote this book. It's called Man's Search for Meaning, and I highly recommend it as well. So what do we offer to people who don't know anything about Singular? A little bit of control. Control in a world in which they may not have very much. Control of their life, control of their finances, control of their time, just a little bit. And the more you get involved with us, the greater control you have. Is that what you meant, Melissa? Is that where you wanted me to go?
Exactly. And having control of your mind, because that's your biggest battlefield right here. So I love that so much. Does anybody have any questions for him? Because I love that he just opens himself up and lets us ask questions.
Yeah.
I think you're frozen.
I'm willing to answer any question I can as long as it's not about products. I don't answer questions about products because that's always a surprise.
All right, here's your chance. Anybody got any?
Anyone?
Just
I can tell you
unmute.
more stories about my dad.
You can talk to us all night, and I'll sit and listen.
Well, I mean, I know it's late where you are, so I recognize that it's late at night, so I don't want to take too much time. It's not late for me here in Utah, so I'm willing to stay and answer questions if people have any.
Who's gonna unmute? I know Hillary's going to. I'm surprised she hasn't already. I don't see her on here, but
I'm on here.
Thank you
Hey,
for
Russ.
those kind words. Go ahead.
Hey, Russ. I'm Nancy. I'm all the way from Statesboro. Hey, I want to play the piano with you one day.
Haha, sounds like fun. I'm actually not very good on the piano.
Yes.
I learned to play the piano
Oh,
by
wow.
ear. So people who actually know how to play the piano run circles around me.
Oh,
But I'd be happy to
I
play
play
with you.
by-
It would be fun.
I play by ear some too. My grandmother played by ear, my dad ear. My mama made us take piano lessons, but I don't do that. I do my own little thing. Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I learned to play piano to try to impress a girl in junior high, and it worked to a certain degree. She was impressed, but then she wasn't so impressed enough to like me after that. So, oh well. But I would love to, Nancy. Let's do it next time we're together. Other
Yes.
questions?
I'm trying to be quiet because I got a sleeping boy next to me, but I want you to tell us a little bit about XLC coming up, just so that everybody has an idea of how amazing it is. So this one in San Diego is only my second one, but I wanted you to tell us a little bit about the fun little extracurriculars that we get to do on top of all the more intimate training and everything.
I appreciate that, and I try not to wake up your son. I would whisper, but I'm not sure that I have control over that. So XLC stands for Singular Leadership Conference. The goal here is to help you recognize the leader that you already are. We invite people who are director level and above to come to the event as a lifetime rank. If you've ever been director level and above. And then we also invite all of the executives to nominate an up-and-comer who is not yet a director, and have them come as well. And so you have people who are showing potential, and you have people who have already demonstrated their ability. Now think about who that is. These are the movers and shakers of Singular. These are the people who have made it go or are about to make it go. So that's the first thing, is the audience is really cool. These are people who are already pretty great at what they do. The second thing is the focus on the event is on how to lead your teams. And most of you don't get that very often. I mean, you'll get it here in your team calls, but having somebody pour into you for 2 days about how to build a team is pretty powerful. Hillary, you were mentioning some of the extracurriculars. We have what we call roundtable discussions, in which you get a chance to sit down at a table with your peers and discuss and share ideas and help each other with challenges and problems, and everybody shares their own perspective. People love that. And then the other one is we do what we call cookies with the CEO. Cookies with the CEO is come and ask the corporate staff any questions you want. Now, reality is Cookies with the CEO has become over the years Cookies with Jeremy Meredith. He's our head of technology, and he tends to field most of the questions while I get to sit back and eat cookies. So that's a double win for me. The speakers are all speakers who are all leaders themselves. This is a chance for you to come and hear from the best of the best. And it's not just rank-based either. It's just people who are moving the needle, people who are making a difference right now in our current environment. If you promise not to tell anybody, I'll tell you, I don't know if this is public knowledge yet. But our speaker for this is Connie Podesta, who spoke at Zing Fling. And she begged us to have her come back. And we were like, well, sure, but we can't have you do the same square, triangle, circle, squiggly thing. So no. I love your people. I want to take that learning to the next level. I want them to understand how to use that in a leadership capacity. We're like, bring it on. That sounds great. So she's going to come back and talk about that. We're pretty excited about that. A number of our leaders have said over the years that this is their favorite conference because it's so focused on people who are really interested in building their business. Yes, we do some motivational things, but it's not mostly about that. Mostly it's about nuts and bolts. Here's what you do. Let's take this to the next level and let's go. Is that, Hillary, is there something else you want me to address, or is that good? Don't say anything. Thumbs up if it's good.
No, that was perfect. Thank you.
All right. If you wake him up, that's on you. Other questions? Anything else you'd like to know? Crickets.
God, I can't believe that.
Well, I appreciate that. If you'll indulge me, I'll tell one last story and then we'll call it a night.
Please go ahead.
About my dad. My dad was the most disciplined person I knew in my whole life. Incredibly disciplined. He did exercise every day. He was extremely organized. He was very consistent. In his 70s, I think he was, hang on. Can you hear me? Okay. My message said my internet connection was unstable. It's just me that's unstable, not my internet connection. So in his 70s, my father went to play tennis, came home and realized that in the night there'd been a windstorm and some branches in a tree in his backyard had fallen from the top of the tree, but not fallen all the way to the bottom. They were hanging precariously in the tree. Got a mental image of that. And he was concerned with grandchildren might come over, have the branches fall when they shouldn't, and maybe get somebody hurt. So at 73 or 74 years old, he climbed the tree and was trying to shake these branches loose. And he fell. And he put a branch through his calf. The branch went through the bottom of his leg. And of course, went to the emergency room and met his doctor there. And the doctor said, well, with your age, Mr. Fletcher, this is probably the end of your tennis career. You're probably not going to recover from this. And my father said, what would I have to do to recover from this? I love tennis. I want to keep playing until I physically can't anymore. What do I have to do? And he says, well, I can give you some exercises to do. You have to do them 3 times a day. And he said, well, I can do that. I'm very disciplined. I can do that. He says, how long would I have to do them? He says, well, the rest of your life. Well, my father said, okay. So he proceeded to do these exercises. Fast forward, he's 93 years old. He's been playing tennis an additional 20 years. He has a fall on the tennis court. He injures his shoulder. He goes in to see the doctor. And the doctor says to him, do you do any exercises? And he says, well, yeah, I do these exercises that they gave me 20 years ago. I do them 3 times a day so I can keep playing tennis. And the doctor just shook his head. He said, Mr. Fletcher, you have long since recovered from your calf injury. You can stop doing those exercises now. He had done them 3 times a day for 20 years because the doctor told him he had to do them for the rest of his life. When the doctor told him he could stop, my dad said, I guess he didn't expect me to live this long. The last thing he said about his tennis game was, right before he had to stop playing, he said, I'm the oldest member of my tennis group, but I'm not the worst. There you go. That's my dad in a nutshell. Very disciplined. I could regale you with stories all night long about my dad and his amazing life. Most people would love to have any one element of his life. He had a full career. He had a full family, more than 100 descendants in his family at the time of his passing. He had a religious life where he understood and believed in God. I remember somebody asked him once, as a scientist, how could he possibly justify his belief in God? And my father shrugged his shoulders. He's like, what makes you think those aren't compatible? Next question. He just wasn't going to play.
I don't know.
Melissa, if I don't see any other questions, I'm going to sign off.
I don't know if you remember this, but we were at an event, and Vicki, you may, or Rhonda, y'all may be able to tell me where it's at, but there were these beds. There was these big beds, and we were all laying on a bed, and you came and spent hours with us talking about your dad and the legacy that and all the lessons that he had taught you. And to this day, that's one of the most, and everybody on this team that was there will tell you.
Wasn't that XLC?
That was California. I was there. This is Bria.
This is Bria. Yes, it was California.
In Long Beach.
Yes, it was. And that was just so special to all of us. And we have been praying for you. You've been in our thoughts, and we are definitely sorry for your loss, because I know it's a big one. But what a legacy, and what a life that he lived, and that will be carried over into not just you, but your children and their children. So that's pretty amazing.
Well, I appreciate the prayers. I'm sure that helped us get through it. Go. Well, Vicki, was that you?
Yes, but I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I can't hear anybody. No, go ahead.
You probably can't hear me. You can't? Okay. I sound like Charlie Brown a lot of times. I was waiting for the questions to end because of what Melissa just said before, talking about your dad and everything. And we are so sorry, but that moment was huge for us all in the bed. That sounds terrible, don't it? But just 2 hours, and I would love for us to have a date like, not me and you, but our team, have a date like that again in California this time, because that was amazing.
Well, thank you. I do remember that fondly. I was there with my son, but not with my wife, and my son went to bed. And when I came in, he's like, really? I said, hey, tables turn, man. And I was out having fun.
It was amazing. Well, thank you so much.
I have a good relationship with my kids. They give me a hard time, so they keep me in line.
They should. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for jumping on. And Russ, we appreciate you, and you are welcome to crash our party anytime that you're able to. We always learn something from you every single time. So
now that I remember that it's Monday nights, I might drop in.
You're welcome to jump on. I'm going to go ahead and end this, declaring Ephesians 3:20 over all of you. God is going to do exceedingly and abundantly more than we can think or ask, because we honor him. His blessings are going to chase us down and overtake us. We are in the right place at the right time. And I declare a boldness to rise up in each one of you. God is going to open supernatural doors. People are going to seek us out, and we are going to rise in the ranks because we give him the honor and glory. I love you. Good night. Love you all.
Good night, everybody.
Russ.
Thanks, Russ.